Welcome back to another episode of That's My Berry.
And wow,
Wow.
one of our most expansive friends. Do you like how we're really teasing up the expansive friendship episode?
Yeah. Also, just like quick disclaimer, I'm ill, so if my voice sounds weird throughout this whole time and you can hear me like gargling fucking lemon water, that's what was happening.
Mind
Just
your
a warning.
business. Yeah,
Mind your business.
mind your
Anyway,
business.
I don't even want to take up the people's time because it was such a good episode and I want everyone to hear it. So I'll just tell you about who we had on the pod today.
Our good friend Scout.
We had our dear friend Scout Sobel on the podcast today. Scout is a trailblazer in the media industry for utilizing podcast tours as a powerful form of PR. She's very ahead of her time, if we do say so
Oh
ourselves.
yeah.
She founded Scout's agency in February of 2019 after recognizing the power of podcasting as a long form, intimate medium for founders to tell their stories and expand their businesses. Her signature podcast tours place female entrepreneurs as guests on podcasts. I have actually worked with Scout, by the way, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And wow,
No,
wow, does she craft a great team as
the
well.
value is it's incredible.
Talk about implementing your ethos into
Seriously.
internal, external, literally everything. She's also the author of the best-selling book, The Emotional Entrepreneur, The Emotional Guidebook to Entrepreneurship. She's also the host of the Emotional Entrepreneur podcast and the co-host of top charting podcast Okay Sis.
And funny enough, just to give the listeners a little background tea, I've known her sister and co-host Maddie since high school. So I've known about Scout and followed her journey from afar for years, and just since becoming her friend and listening to her podcast and being on her podcast and her being here, like every time I talk to her, I feel refreshed. I feel renewed in living in alignment. I feel inspired. I feel expanded. Like she is such a beautiful example of everything TMV stands for, of learning in real time and doing what works for you. And I can't say enough great things. This episode is fucking packed. We talked about everything in this episode. We talked about her mental health journey. We talked about working with her bipolar diagnosis in a way that works for her, the difference between traditional therapy and coaching and how that transformed her life. We talked about intuition and things that light you up, releasing attachment to outcomes, quantum leaping your growth. We talked about how she rests, which is a huge part of all this quantum growth. We talked about her favorite books because I know y'all always ask for those, and she gave us some great ones. We talked about tips on how to put yourself in spaces you want to be in and brag about yourself confidently. This this episode could not be more value packed and beautiful and inspiring. And Scott, we just love you so much. Thank you for being
And
here.
don't you fret. She will be coming back,
Oh yeah,
okay?
of
Scout
course.
will be coming back, and we want to definitely discuss navigating motherhood and entrepreneurship all through the lens of mental health. So don't you fret. There's going to be a part two.
And ask your questions. Always send
Yes.
us your questions on IG because you've been doing that for Joanna Candell and some other good friends that are coming back as well. And I think it's going to be a great way to have our guests be familiar faces and just continue to provide value for the community.
Scout, we love you. Enjoy the episode, guys.
Oh my God, enjoy.
Here's our combo with Scout. We need Scout in house because we
Yeah.
were talking and she's like, no, 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 no. Start recording. Start
Yeah.
How
recording.
dare you
This
not?
is like the heart, I feel like, of a podcast is those, well, especially if you know the person,
Yeah.
like, even if you already know each other, it's like that first 5 minutes where you're just debriefing before you hit record. They're
Yep.
always the best. You say the best shit and you're like, fuck, that wasn't recorded.
It's true. It's
For
true.
sure.
Wait, so say what you were going to say. Re-listening.
I have to go, right, that's
Yeah.
what one of it. I have to go back and listen to my birth story because I was feeling like the other day that my baby's going to be 5 months in about
Oh
a week
my
and a half.
God.
And I
Wow.
already feel disconnected to the early days, like the
Wow.
first month. Like I already feel like that was a lifetime ago. I feel so different. I'm trying to remember it and put myself in that energy. Obviously, I remember it, but it feels farther away than I expected it to feel at this point. So I need to go back and listen to that because I was like 5 weeks, 6 weeks when I recorded that, I feel like. So
Yeah.
What do you feel like when you say like you feel different now? Like in terms of like as like a person or just in terms of like how you look at the situation of your birth story or like what do you mean by that?
I feel like in the beginning, it was just about me having a newborn. Like my whole
Mhm.
life was just this newborn, and my whole life was so different. And I had a C-section, so I was physically much slower, obviously, because I was recovering. And it felt as if it was this bubble of transformation. And now, I'm fucking back at work. My life's moving. I'm on calls. I'm on Zoom. I'm going to dinners. I can move my stomach. I got a little bit of abs back. It just feels like now it's life. Like
Yeah.
life, it's just life now. And
Yeah.
she's with me versus the first 2 months felt like a bigger, I got to figure out what I'm doing here. Like this is a big
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
So I feel like I am a lot more settled into life with a baby, where those first 2 months are just, wow, this is crazy. Your hormones make you feel like you're on drugs in a good way. And it's
Damn.
just a different reality those first 2 months.
Okay, so we have to dive in because for our listeners, Scout is our longtime friend and expander.
Yes.
And we have not been able to catch up with you since motherhood. So today's episode is really just going to be about your whole fucking journey and identity and everything we're already talking about.
Okay, I'm so excited. And I also have to say that you two, I aspire to have the carousel game on Instagram that you two have.
Are you
Literally best
joking? Your
compliment
Instagram is
ever.
amazing. What do you mean?
No,
Yeah.
I look
Your
at
captions?
Your
carousels and
captions. Yeah. Are you joking?
well, yeah, duh, my
Yeah.
captions are
Yeah.
off. But like the swipe carousel, you two are the coolest girls on the internet because of your swipe carousel moments.
Listen, guys, you heard it here first, and Scout said it, so it
Oh,
must be
I'm
true.
taking that and making it our marketing from now on. Scout of
Yeah.
Scouts Agency says we're the coolest girls on the internet. Like that is now from now on how I pitch myself.
I don't know how you guys make inanimate objects look so cool.
Okay, that's funny.
Honestly,
because you know Sam from Mayfair, Sam Abrahart?
Yeah.
Her and I are rereading Eckhart Tolle right now, and we were messaging each other like, the bull has consciousness. Like this is source energy. Like we need to hold space for it. Like
yeah.
we are so on our
No.
bullshit that I'm really rocking with the inanimate objects. So thank you for seeing me with that. I feel very seen.
Meadow inspires me with her inanimate object. Like the way Meadow sees things, I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Everything has
And then
life.
like
Everything has
now
something to say.
Yeah.
I'm taking full credit for this. I finally got Meadow back on YouTube.
Yeah.
And she posted her first video and it's fucking miraculous. Like her editing is unreal. And now I'm editing new YouTube videos for myself and like I can't get Meadow out of my head.
there,
This
baby.
happens all the time to the point that like we just had an episode with Jessica from To Be Magnetic. We finished recording and I'm like, Jessica, I have the best idea I've ever had.
Oh.
I need to write an article, including you, about XYZ idea. Like, it just came, I just had this download when we were talking. Like, it's amazing. We hang up. Meadow's like, I love you. And I literally pitched that idea and had you proofread it
She
last week.
edited
That's why
that
I'm proud
exact
of it.
pitch of mine last week. I was like, I'm in
this
your
is how
brain.
burrowed Meadow is in my brain.
Your subconsciousness are like melding together
Exactly.
as one because there is sort of like a duo-ness to you guys on the internet.
Thanks.
You both have this same carousel vibe going, but Gabby's has a little bit of that Latina spice going down, and then Meadows is more inanimate object. But the memes that I can't explain and express the mastery that you two have. So I just had to say that before we get going.
God, I just love and miss you so
I know.
much.
I haven't seen you since your book launch, which was so fun, and I was so honored to be invited and included. Feels like a lifetime ago, though, huh?
Yeah. It was like wait, when was that?
Last year. Year before. No, 2 years ago, maybe even. No?
No.
It'll be 2 years in August.
2021.
I don't think, you weren't pregnant.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah.
It was 2021. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is so weird.
Okay, we gotta jump into your unpacking.
We gotta dive in.
Because I have so many questions for you. Yeah. Take it away, Gabs.
Okay, so we start every episode by asking our guests what they're currently unpacking. Big, small, however you take that.
Oh, what am I currently unpacking? Oh my God. Sorry, I should know this answer off the top of my head.
No, it's fun when you have to think on it.
This is what I was unpacking this morning, which feels a little, I don't like talking about it that much, but I'll just let you know what I'm unpacking. I'm unpacking the fact that I feel as if I am so into personal development and mental health and entrepreneurship and being a mom that in the last couple days, it's been calling on me, especially I think now that I have a baby, it's almost necessary to put that same amount of emphasis into my relationship with my husband, as far as being intentional and working on our relationship and how, weekly check-ins and how is my ego involved and where can I be, be a little bit more humble and just our patterns. And, we've been together for over 10 years now, 10 and
Wow.
a half years. And when you have a baby, you're like, oh, we really got to be on the same page with all things at all times, sort of. So I was just kind of diving into that
Mhm.
this morning, thinking that I really I think I'm ready to have that be the next section of my evolution, I suppose,
Yeah.
because I feel like all the other things are not that my husband and I aren't firing on all cylinders. It's just that I don't think we've approached our relationship in the way that I approach like my business or my mental
Mhm.
health. And I think that's kind of our next evolution as parents and as husband and wife. I haven't told him this yet. So,
I'm sure he
but
agrees.
yeah,
How
yeah. I'm not
into mental health and spirituality is Adam? I feel like he's pretty aligned.
Yeah, so he's sober, so
Yeah.
he went through the 12-step program. So he was the one that introduced me to that program, which introduced me to a higher power. So he was the one that
Mm.
got me on that whole kind of journey and taking radical responsibility for my emotions and radical responsibility over my healing. So he was really my catalyst in that
Cool.
sense.
Wow.
I'm like a lot more woo woo
Yeah.
than he is, but he'll go there with me. Like, we'll go to Tulum and do a sound bath meditation together and he'll love it and stuff like that. I would just say that I'm probably a little more, I'm pulling cards. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
angel
yeah.
numbers, kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, he definitely can play in that arena too.
We don't have to dive into it too much if you don't want to, because I know you haven't had the conversation, but just out of curiosity, because you were saying now that you guys are parents, like being on the same page is more important than ever.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that's gonna continue to grow, especially as grows up and she's a teenager and she can talk back and, like, you guys are, like, having those direct conversations. Has that impacted other facets of your relationship where, like, maybe in areas where previously you guys would disagree and it was fine and it was, like, a fun little debate? Is that, like, no
Mm.
longer, or have you seen yourself, like, being more reactive to those things because it's like, we gotta be on the same page about, like, everything?
No, I'm really grateful that my husband and I are really aligned on lifestyle, values, finances, beliefs, all of those things. Sure, we have different approaches as parents to her, but all the big stuff we're super aligned on. It's so much more that my husband and I really live kind of these not separate lives, but I have my business. He's getting his PhD that he's really consumed with. So we've always been on opposite schedules. He's a night owl. I'm a morning person. Like we really don't see each other that much during the week usually. But now that we have a baby, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Like we
Mhm.
have to check in a lot
Yeah.
more. It's a much more of a logistical thing. Like
Mm.
it's a much more like, oh, we used to be able to go a week and do our own thing and have our own plans and be really head down in each of our careers separately. And now it's a lot more like, oh, okay, what time are you working until tonight? And who's going to watch the baby at this time? And when are we spending intentional family time together, etc. So, I mean, I'm really, really grateful because when I got together with my husband, I was 21. We dated a little bit in high school, so I knew him. But
Wow.
back then it wasn't like we sat down and we were asking ourselves, do our values align? Does our beliefs align? Is our lifestyle align? Are our goals aligned? And they just are,
Mhm.
which is amazing. Like fully our foundation, like where we see our life going together is the same. Um, it's just a lot more of like a logistical operational situation that we now have to, and then how do we prioritize each other and all of that stuff. So that's what I would say the biggest change is for me as a wife.
Do you feel like you're still in the newborn phase, so does it still feel like you have the magic of, like, watching him be a dad, or does it feel like you have to, like, schedule intimacy? You know what I mean? Like, how do you balance that, like, spontaneity, fun magic with? Because 'cause I'm
Mm.
so not operational in that way. I feel like you probably are a little bit more. You're a fucking badass businesswoman, like, you have your fucking shit down, but I feel like that would be hard for me to grapple with personally.
I think when you have a baby and you are like me who went back to work very early, etc., it's all about logistics.
Yeah.
That has been the biggest shock to my system, I
Mm.
think, with becoming a mom. Like the first 2 months were amazing. I was like, this shit is way easier than everyone was telling me. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
I can do this all day
Fuck
long.
yeah.
It's incredible. It was when you start to live your daily life
Yeah.
again that you
Mm.
realize that there's so many things that you took for granted or that you didn't realize that you now have to think about. So, like, just the concept that I literally can't just leave and do things if someone's not watching my baby. Like, my baby needs to be watched 24/7, like 24/7.
Wild.
And so if someone texts me and says, you want to go to dinner? No, I
Yeah.
can't. I don't have a babysitter. Like,
Yeah.
That didn't really hit me until I was living in it, I
Yeah.
think. It's not even an option. Like, you have to know who's watching her. You have to know who's ordering the diapers. You have
Yeah.
to know all of
Mm,
those things. Who's making dinner? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Who's watching her then? Because if you don't, I mean, you can't operate. It forces you to get much more organized, and I think that was the biggest difficulty or transition for me personally was, oh, I don't get my 2 hour morning routine in the
Yeah.
morning. And like, I knew that, right? I
Sure.
knew that
right.
was coming. But when you actually have been doing that for 3 months straight, you're like, holy fuck, I need a goddamn minute
Yeah.
to do my meditation real quick.
Yeah.
When you wake up with her and then the nanny comes and you run to get ready and then you go straight to work and then you go straight to relieve the nanny and then you're with her and she goes to bed at 7:30. You get like an hour at the end of the day to do your skincare and decompress and get in bed. Once you've been doing that for a consistent amount of time and I'm like a masochist and I traveled with her and I did all these things, that's the biggest thing of like, wait a minute, I have to like plan who watches her or if I want a moment to
Mhm.
myself. Like, my moments to myself come second if she gives them to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
so glad. Sorry,
that's
Meadow.
okay. Go
Totally
ahead.
cut you off because I know we're going to dive into the questions. I'm so glad that you brought up just having support and having a nanny, especially because you were mentioning getting back to work sooner. And I feel like it's something that a lot of moms will. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't even want to speak on it at all. But I just feel like it's wonderful that you brought that up. What was the process like for you of finding someone? Like, I don't
Mm.
know, how was that? Was it like a personality fit? Was it like, what's your resume like? What was the vibe?
It's a really good question. And I don't know why this is such a weird topic because
I
unless you are staying
Yeah.
home with your baby every day, someone's watching the
Yeah.
baby. Like,
Right.
someone's watching every baby. You know what I mean? So unless you're a stay-at-home mom, and even when you're a stay-at-home mom, I can't speak to everybody, but like, there are moments when you are not with your baby and someone is watching your baby. So
We're a community
that's always,
species. Like, it's weird that we act like we're
Yeah.
yeah,
not. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
Yes.
it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. But what kind of went into my decision, I am so incredibly blessed that my nanny who grew up with me in my house, she lived with us for 10 years,
Yeah.
is with my daughter 2 days a week, which is like incredible.
Oh, that can make me
That's,
Yeah,
cry.
that really could
it
make me cry too.
feels
Oh,
like
Wow.
second to having, my mom
yeah.
being
Yeah.
So she comes twice a week to help out, which is incredible, Monday, Wednesday. And then for Thursday, Friday, I got so lucky. She's been interning for us forever. And we're very close. She's become kind of a mentee to me, and she goes to SDSU, which is right down the street. And I asked her if she knew anybody who was looking to be a nanny. And she actually had a friend who had just said she wanted to nanny. She's been nannying for 7 years. She has some
Wow.
childcare certification, whatever. And so she came over. It was a vibe check for me, but the fact that she came recommended,
Yeah.
and then the fact that
Mhm.
she had nanny experience, that she had these certifications. I talked to the past woman that she worked for, and that's how I did it. I wanted it to be like a someone referred versus going to like
Mhm.
care.com
Right.
and finding a random person. And I highly suggest, there's so many mom groups that you can go into, like go into them on Facebook. If you're Jewish, the JCC's got one, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And ask those people, like ask people and that's kind of how I find the best way to do it. It makes me nervous to leave her with someone that wasn't referred.
Totally.
Mhm.
Gabby and I also each have that nanny and woman in our lives that I know we each thought of immediately, so that's so beautiful, I can't even handle it. Like, if oh
No,
my
I'm literally
god.
like, that's the sole reason I wanna, like, move back to Miami now
Yeah.
that you said that. I'm like, "Oh my god.
Yeah.
I gotta have her there."
Seriously.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing to watch her interact. And she was for the first 2 months before I went back to work, it was just my nanny, who's now her nanny. And so it was such a great way to ease into having someone else watching your baby, because obviously I trust her with my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very, very fortunate that that's the case. And my dad and her grandparents help out so much, which is amazing. I went into having a baby not expecting my parents or my in-laws
Mhm.
to be able to help, just because I think that going into it with that expectation was good, because I didn't want to really plan or have any of that in mind. And they've been really, really helpful. So I'm really fortunate and grateful for that.
Okay, we just had to pause for a little technical difficulty. Hasn't happened in a while, Meadow.
I know, it hasn't, but Perfect person to have it with.
I happened to be the other day and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I've been podcasting for 4.5 years and I'm having a technical issue. It
Yeah,
happens.
it
Oh my
happens.
gosh, at least it's with you, the person who, like, when Meadow and I were like, "We want a podcast," so graciously got on the phone with me for, like, an
And
hour
explained
and
everything.
just gave me the entire rundown.
Yeah.
I did that?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
I
You
love
did that,
you.
like, 2 years ago.
I did
Yeah, I remember that.
that? Okay, wait, let's
Yep,
back up a little bit because in case our listeners don't know who you are, first of all, please go listen to OK Sis and the Emotional Entrepreneur podcast because Scout is an absolute expansive
icon.
icon of a human being, and we're just so grateful,
Yeah,
and we
you
love you
and
so
Maddie
much.
on that pod are so good.
Amazing. And your birth story's insane. I cried multiple times and I wanna get into it, but for folks that don't know you, can you give a little bit of your trajectory of, like, your diagnosis 3, 4 years ago, what your support system was saying, how you're gracefully
Mhm.
navigating your challenges now,
Mhm.
living in alignment,
Give you
all
a
of it.
big Spark Notes version because it could be 5 episodes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I like to start my story at the age of 14, which is when I had my first depressive episode. That's when my mental health journey started, but I wasn't diagnosed until the age of 20 with bipolar disorder type 2. And that was what, like almost 12 years ago now, which 12 years ago, the mental health landscape was very different.
Oh,
Mhm.
was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for reference, there wasn't
Yeah.
really Instagram. So that means there were no thought leaders or content creators or
Yes.
podcasts on the subject. And so I felt incredibly alone. It was a very scary moment for me to be diagnosed when I was. And I suffered from a slew of symptoms, including depression, anxiety, psychosis, paranoia, and catatonia. And I had to drop out of college. I went through 2 outpatient programs. I was 5150'd. And there was a lot of talk about me not being able to function in society since I couldn't hold down a minimum wage job. I couldn't complete college. It was really difficult for me to even fulfill my social life in a great way. So my early to mid 20s were really me kind of floundering, trying to figure out how to make it in this world, living with this mental illness. I really credit my husband for the initial commitment to my mental health healing. So when we started
Mm.
dating, about a month or two into dating, I was 21, he said, listen, I don't care if you're depressed. If you're depressed and hopeful, I will stay in this relationship with you. But if you're depressed and hopeless, I can't be here. And that was the
Wow.
first time somebody looked at me and said that essentially that there are things that I can do that are in my control. Like maybe I can't control that I'm depressed, but I can control how I feel about it and what I do about it next.
Mhm.
And so that led me down a really, really intense path. I started reading every book that I could. I started implementing gratitude. I started going to support groups, which I know we talk a lot about one on one therapy, but don't sleep on support groups. I think support groups, yeah,
Absolutely.
I think if it's therapy, you can
Absolutely.
get caught in your own bullshit because there's no one else, right? That you're only telling your side of the
Yep.
story. Support groups changed my life. So,
And more
Wow.
accessible. So
oh
many
yeah,
of them are
they're free.
free
Yeah.
and
They're free.
amazing. Yes. I
Free.
love that you
Mhm.
say that.
I think that needs to be the new conversation around therapy. So yeah,
I love
I
that.
spent my early 20s just being like, what the fuck? And how do I live life? And where am I going to be successful? And I found entrepreneurship at the age of 22. And that's when the game changed. I was sitting with my friend and I said, hey, you want to start a magazine? And we were just going to print it at Kinko's and pass it out to our friends. And it was going to be an art project. And that night I went insane, and we can credit Mania for this. And I like got the domain name and the Instagram handle and I made all these appointments at these
Mhm.
fancy printers and they were like, it's going to cost $10,000. And I created a Kickstarter and that just showed me that there was an avenue that I could be successful and lit up by. And that magazine had a 3-issue run. The second was sold on newsstands across the country. The third was sold in Barnes and Noble and had Halsey on the cover. And that's when I realized that entrepreneurship was going to be the way that I was successful in this world. And so dropped out of college a second time and then spent my mid 20s trying to figure out what business I wanted to start. So I started a blog and then I started another podcast and then I started a social media agency and I just did anything and everything. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good
Mhm.
idea. Let's try
Mhm.
that. But it wasn't until I started OK Sis with my sister in August of 2018 that I really found a medium and a home that really felt aligned for me. So I started the podcast and very quickly fell in love with the medium and was also realizing that when we would have female guests on our podcast, our community would follow them online, buy their products, sign up for their newsletter, listen to their podcast. And that's when the aha moment came that being a guest on a podcast was a form of PR.
Mhm.
So I started Scouts Agency 4 years ago, February 2019.
Just ahead of the curve.
Oh, yeah. Always.
Yeah, it's been, that there's a blessing and a curse for that because I've had to educate a lot of people on this strategy. But today we're the leading agency and running podcast tours for women. So that's been my entrepreneurial journey. And simultaneously, obviously, my mental health, I feel like I got myself to a point where I could function, but I was still really afraid of my emotions. I was afraid
Mm.
of what a depressive episode could do to me. I was afraid of any hint of discomfort. And so I worked with a coach. I got out of therapy and I started working with a coach exclusively. And I started to develop a spiritual practice that saved my life. And I started to develop the belief that I am safe in my emotions. And around the age of 28 is when I really became empowered within my mental health. I got off medication and I decided to get pregnant, which I was actually going to go down the route of surrogacy because my psychiatrists and therapists didn't think that being off medication and carrying my child that I would be able to handle it with the severity of my mental illness. And with a lot of work, I got myself to a point where I felt comfortable and stable enough within my mental illness that I finally, after a year and a half fertility journey, got pregnant and had my baby. And so now it's just a new level of how do I show up in motherhood with the mental health and spiritual tools that I've
Mhm.
cultivated to get myself to this point. Yeah, that's the spark notes for
God, it's
even.
so beautiful.
Okay, I have 2 main things that came to mind. First, what have you felt has been the biggest distinction between your shift from traditional therapy to working with a coach? Was it that
Mm.
spiritual element or just a lot more?
That's an excellent question. And it's something that when I was talking about it a couple years ago, I got a lot of flack for, and
Mhm.
people thought I was being irresponsible,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
even my close friends, like I would be like, this coach saved my life, and I would tell them and they'd be like, but what are her credentials? And I
Yep.
was like, did you not hear what I just said?
Right. Mhm.
So, I'm careful about the way I speak about it, but I am very honest about the reality of my story, which
Mm.
was I was put in therapy at 14. I went through the clinical, psychiatric, and therapeutic worlds. I also like to mention in a way that my mental health experience was very clinical. So
Mhm.
it wasn't necessarily, well, I don't it was meds, it
Yeah.
was being locked up, it was hospitals, it was very serious for so long. And so I found myself in a system that disempowered me and
Mhm.
looked at me as a patient.
Yes.
I was put into a system where they were using words like, well, you have a very severe condition. If you feel this way, you should go to the hospital, right? And they would speak to me as if I was a clinical patient. And I they were afraid of me.
Mm.
And so if they were afraid of me, how was I supposed to feel safe in my
Mm.
own landscape? And so I went through so many therapists. There's a lot of components as to why coaching has worked for me specifically, but I went through so many therapists and it never worked. Psychiatric medication made me worse most of the times. And I never felt as if the doctors around me believed in me.
Mhm.
And so I found a coach. She invited me into her mastermind. We did like a trade. And so I got a taste of her work before signing up one on one. And I watched how I specifically reacted to her energy and reacted to her containers. And so then I signed up one on one. Now, there's a couple reasons why coaching for me has worked. One, there's an investment that one makes in a coach. You have to work with
Mhm.
them for a certain amount of time and you're paying money. I know that's not accessible to everybody, but if it
Mhm.
is, and I would argue that it's a lot more accessible than you may think
Mhm.
because there's a lot of limiting beliefs on investing in ourselves. When you put down money and you sign a contract and you make a commitment, you're going to show up. Therapy, I could cancel whenever I wanted. I could go once a month. I could go every other month. I could go once a week. So there's that commitment.
Mm.
And two, I looked at her and I said, listen, I'm bipolar. I get suicidal ideation. Can you handle that? It's okay if you can. I get it. Whatever. And she looked at me and she said, you're a human being having a human experience. That's it. And it was the first time anyone had ever looked at me and made me feel like I could manage this or
Mm.
saw me for what I was having. And so working with my coach, Amy Natalie, has been the biggest gift. We're going on 3 years together. And it's also, it's, she empowers me. There's no disempowerment conversation. There's no languages of clinical or limiting, constricting beliefs about my ability. For example, the fact that these fuckers told me I couldn't carry my own child.
Mhm.
I mean, come on, right?
Mhm.
Like, what about empowering me to get to a point where maybe I could consider something like that
Yeah.
versus just shutting that option off? For me, I felt as if I needed more daily support. So
Mm.
a therapist you once a week, and sometimes you're like, well, that I already rode the wave and I don't need to talk about
Yeah.
it anymore. I'm on Boxer with her, so I can voice note her during the
Mhm.
day, and that's really important to me because I'm an audible processor. So when I'm going through it, I can just send her a voice note and she gets back to me either that day or the next day. But that in the moment coaching,
Mhm.
in my opinion, was key to me really, really healing myself.
Totally. Totally. It's so fun to hear that side of things because I
Yeah.
think I shared with you a little bit last year when I was kind of starting this, but I did the flip side. Like I went from the clinical mental health professional world to realizing I think I wanna move into coaching and, like, the
That was
shadow
hard for
work
you.
that I had to do in order to, like, tell my community of mental health professionals and my fucking fiancé who's still at NAMI in direct service in the highest capacity, like, "I wanna do this instead," was it took so much shadow work, it was wild. And I
Yeah,
still strongly believe that it's a facet of mental health healing that needs a rebrand and really needs
Yeah.
intentional people in it. And
Yeah.
yes,
and you
yeah.
have to parcel that out, but it's just so beautiful and validating to hear that side of it too.
Yeah, and like just like therapists, like not every therapist is
Yeah.
good.
Exactly.
Not every coach
Exactly.
is good. Like
Yep.
Yes.
it's you got to find the one that works for you. But I do think, and I hope, and this is probably too ambitious for our time right now, that I'm so grateful that therapy is being talked about. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that people are going to therapy because that wasn't the case 10 years ago, and
At
I,
all.
yeah, at all. And I really hope that the clinical side of that world softens a little bit
Mhm.
I do too.
and supports their patients in a little bit more of an empowering
Mhm.
way.
I do
Yeah,
too.
definitely. First of all, thank you for so beautifully having that conversation. I think that's gonna be really helpful for a lot of listeners. What was my other
Yeah, I do
point
too.
that I wanted to say? It'll come to me. It'll
Okay,
come
because if
to
you
me.
don't have one, I have a question
Go ahead. Go
immediately.
ahead.
I have so many for you, Scout,
Yes.
it's not even funny. Do you remember last time we talked? We talked for 2.5 hours. I should have scheduled this for at least 3 hours,
I was
the way I love to
I
talk to
don't
you.
have anything, so we can go over if you guys need. Yeah, that was
That
the
was the best,
best.
and I have to say for anyone that like, we literally sat in your backyard, the sun was shining on us, the birds were chirping, Luna was, like, sniffing in the
It
grass.
was a
It was, like, the
fucking
most
vibe. I wasn't there,
glorious.
but I got a
It was
picture.
a fucking vibe. It was the most glorious podcast recording ever. But I think in general, you've always been someone like, clearly through everything you just said in your, Spark Notes version of your life story, you really like, trust and believe your intuition, even
Yeah.
when emotions and thoughts come
Yeah.
up that maybe are not aligned with that, and you create the space to parcel them out. I would love for you to kinda speak to that more, and also, how the hell has mother's intuition come in? Because you
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
in meditation that you were gonna have a C-section from there I was like, the intuition
I
that you
was
had
floored.
already I know, I have chills thinking about it. The intuition that you had already developed, and now, like, being a mom, like, I have to know how that's affected your mental health, spirituality, everything.
Yeah. Oh, great question.
So I think that intuition, I really relate it to my solar plexus
Mm,
chakra. It's always been very on fire for
totally.
me. So I always have difficulty answering this question because it's something that comes naturally to me. And I think that things that come naturally,
Are
like
hard to
how
explain.
much can I
Yeah,
teach?
I get that.
Well, do you know your human design, Scout?
I'm a generator, emotional generator.
So my sister. I was like, "I sounds
Manifesting
familiar."
generator.
Oh, I wish I was a man gen just because it sounds way better than just a generator.
'Cause it sounds.
Same.
From a very young age, I mean, in high school, I'd be like, nah, that doesn't work for me. I'm not
Mhm,
doing that. And it, I never cared about what people thought, like I was like, I'm just going to get an 80% in physics because I'm never going to fucking use
mhm.
physics. But I know that I kind of have to not get a C so my parents don't totally kill me. But like, why work for an 88,
Right,
right? When
Mm.
like the UC system will just show it as a
right.
B. So I always, right,
No, I
I was
get
always like, this isn't worth my time. I'm going to go write poetry at the coffee
yeah.
shop instead. So I skipped school all the time to literally sit at a coffee shop and read my book. I just kind of had this inner knowing that what was worth my time and what wasn't worth my time. And I really credit my mental illness
Mhm.
to that because whenever I do something that's out of alignment, it flares up really, really, really significantly to a
Mm.
point where it'll take me out. So it's always talking to me. And so if I do something that's not fuck yes 100% in, I get anxious, I get depressed. I mean, I physically can't function anymore. And so it's the greatest gift that I've ever been given, because I will never wake up at the age of 50 and wonder where my life went. It just
Yeah.
won't happen, because every day my mental health and my mental illness is letting me
Mhm.
know, am I on the right path or am I not on the right path? Am I in my purpose or am I not in my
Mm.
purpose? Am I in alignment or am I not in alignment? The part is that I answer the call. The
Mhm.
part
Mhm.
is that I choose to trust that call. We all have that call in us. It's just a matter of how uncomfortable are you willing to get? What kind of risks are you willing to take? And how badly do you want what you don't have in this moment? So I am very connected. I make emotional decisions in my business all the
Mhm.
time. I don't really believe in, I'm not such a rational, practical person. I believe that my desires are placed into me for a reason.
Mhm.
And if I have a desire, it's because it deserves to get
Mhm.
played out in this lifetime. And so I'm not going to overthink whether that's responsible, whether that makes sense, whether that's a good investment, whether that's, whatever. I'm like, no, this is what I want and I feel it in my body.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to chase after that, because that's the way I live my life. I want everything I do and to experience and to be a direct reflection of what I internally
Mhm.
want, whether it's my
Mm.
desires or my intuition. And it's a, if that seems super foreign, it's a
It
practice, like
is.
it's a muscle, like get an intuitive hit, follow it, see what happens. And it's not going to be easy, like shit will happen, but you know, follow your desires. I really, really preach that people need to pay way more
Yeah.
attention to their desires and their dreams.
Your desires and your dreams want you too. They're meant to be yours
Yeah,
for a
Mhm.
reason. They're meant to play out for a
Mhm.
reason. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. I love that
they're
you say that.
literally like, it's like God saying
Yes.
you can do this, and then you're like, no, I can't. Who are you to say that?
Exactly.
Like,
I
Exactly.
literally always I'm like, "Who are we to think that we can outthink life?"
I would think
yeah,
the
For
universe, are you
exactly.
real.
kidding? Yeah, no way.
No, it's hilarious.
Like our desires, our dreams, our intuitive hits, our downloads, those are direct
Yep.
communication from life, the universe, God, whatever you believe in. And it's honestly just a matter if you want to hop on them and if you want to trust that flow.
Yep.
And I believe that's where life opens up. So as a mom, I was actually kind of waiting for like the mother's
Mm.
intuition to happen. And I guess it has. I guess it's just not in the way I thought it was going to.
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be like, I'm sitting here and she's crying. And I'm like, it's because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Right.
not what it is. For me, yes, it started with knowing that she was meant to be born as a C-section baby, and my doula and everyone was like, flip the baby, flip the baby, flip the baby, and my body was like, no,
Mhm.
I'm not supposed to flip her. She doesn't want to be flipped. She's made some sort of contract that she's coming here this way, and there's a reason for it, and that reason did reveal itself to me later on, and I'll tell you guys about that
Mhm.
privately. Um, but there's been a lot of intuitive things. Like, I believe that your baby chooses you for a reason. So,
Yeah.
a baby that needs a mom who is a stay at home mom will be born to that mom. A
Mm.
baby who needs a mom who is working will be born to that mom. A baby who needs a mom who wants to co sleep and breastfeed exclusively and all those
Mm.
things needs that mom. And so, whenever I shame myself because I'll read a post about a mom who did this or a mom who did that, I say, wait a minute, like my baby doesn't need that. My baby needs me. Like
Mhm.
my baby needs my way of doing things. And so that's where the intuition comes in. Like I know that my daughter needs me, but I know she's not the type of girl and I'm not the type of mom where we necessarily need to be sleeping together and she needs to only take my boob and not a bottle. Like she has a little bit of an independence in her and I have an independence and that works for us
Mhm.
and she flourishes in that state. Like
Mm.
you kind of just intuitively the way you parent, if you're conscious about it, I believe ends up matching what your child needs and why her soul came here.
Mhm.
So you can't like really fuck it up if you're really conscious about it because they chose the lessons and the blind spots that you have and all of that. So that's what I really believe. Like a mom who is like supernatural, like doesn't do the epidural.
Mhm.
There's all these
Mhm.
different types of
Mhm.
decisions that we make. that's because that's right for that mom and that baby. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that that's right for all moms and
Yeah.
babies. And so I really just trusted, how can I be a best mom? And my main philosophy, my main philosophy in motherhood is that I am going to be the best mom to Lily if I'm a fully embodied, fully expressed, firing on all cylinders, aligned human
Mhm.
being. Now, how do I become that? I build my
Mhm.
business, I go to
Mhm.
yoga, I journal, I meditate, I take time away from her, I prioritize myself, I all these things that still light me up, I make sure I do, because my daughter, I think the ultimate disservice we do as children, do to our children, is to be a martyr and to
Mm.
Mm.
give up on our dreams and to not be who we actually are because we think we need to be with them 24/7.
Mhm.
I think that that is a burden that your child will carry.
Mhm.
I think it is a burden that she, without getting too personal, because I don't like talking about other people and not my story, but I really grappled with, is going back to work this early and being an entrepreneur and working going to hurt her?
Mm.
And no,
Mhm.
because I cannot look at her in the eye and tell her that you can be anything, do anything, feel anything. And I don't care what it is. You want to go fucking backpack for 10 years? Go backpack for 10 years when she's older. I don't care what it is. But I cannot raise a baby who is in her sole purpose if I am not in my sole purpose. It won't work. And so that's what I've committed to, is now, before her, I had to be a fully expressed, aligned person to not get depressed. And now I have to be a fully aligned, expressed person so that my baby girl has the ultimate role model and example for her life. So it's wild. The whole thing's wild. It's a constant like coming back to yourself, but you can't fuck it up if you're doing the thing that is intuitively right for you.
We have a lot of listeners, especially particularly people that are in like college age, whether they're in or out of school, that ask us questions regarding finding their purpose.
Mm.
And I know that we've talked about a lot of the beautiful work that you've done, but I know that you also mentor a lot of people. And if there's anything that you could say to them of sort of tools and practices in which you're able to figure out, like, is this lighting me up? Am I doing this because, X person in my life, I want to impress them, or I'm doing it for them.
Approaching it
Yeah.
playfully and not
Yeah,
like a no is a rejection, but it's aligning you
an
to what's
opportunity for
more
the next yes. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, my thing is that I would just get really curious and I would be unafraid to jump into as many things as possible. Like, as many things as possible. Like, fuck getting the great salary out of college. Fuck sometimes finishing college, if I'm being honest, you
We
know?
just talked about that yesterday, Gabby.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, depending on your life path. Don't be you can't be a neurosurgeon and not go to college, but
Thank God.
Yeah.
I would take the pressure off the fact that you have to find it, and
Mm,
I would just live your life based off of your curiosity. So if something sounds like an exciting idea, just try it on for a second. Like when I started Scouts Agency, I told my dad and my husband, and they were like, this is a lot. Like you keep doing things. Like, do you have time for this, etc. And I was like, I don't care about that. I had an idea. I'm just gonna play in the
Mhm.
energy for 2 weeks and see if it's something I want to
Mhm.
continue.
yeah.
I think that if we're in the curiosity phase and in the exploration phase, we don't necessarily need to attach such intense meaning to every decision we make,
Mm,
or we don't have to put a lot of pressure for that to be the one that's going to do the thing. I mean, I run a very successful business. We have a team of 7, but I spent the ages of 22 to
Mhm.
28 starting like 10 different things,
Mhm.
you know?
yeah.
So just play around. When you're early in your career, when you're super young, it's so much more fun to get a barista job and figure it out on the side and intern than, in my opinion, to go straight into a 9 to 5. I think there's a lot of value in that. That's what I did.
Mhm.
So just take the pressure off. Like, really take the pressure off. It doesn't matter what your parents want, it doesn't matter what society wants. Your early 20s are for the exploration phase. So if you're curious about something, try it
Yeah.
on. Try it on for a couple weeks and see where it takes you.
I love that advice.
Every time I talk to you, I always feel so aligned with because you have such a perspective of
Oh my
presence,
god, words out of
and
my
you
mouth,
really
Meadow.
release
Yes.
outcome, right? Like,
Yeah.
you really release attachment to outcome and narratives in such a way that's so
Yeah.
empowering and beautiful. What are your top tools or habits that you've implemented to help you get to that?
Yeah, releasing control.
It's
I mean, your whole
yeah,
birth story.
especially as a mom and the way that
Yeah.
people project stories and narratives and perspectives and opinions, and it's just wild.
Mhm.
I mean, listen, there's no hack, right? It's just a decision that you have to make. Like, are you gonna live for other people or are you gonna live for yourself? Are you willing to be uncomfortable or do you wanna live blindly shoving your shit down? Which is fine, you could do that, but make the choice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you can't sit here and be upset that you're not living this big life if you're not willing to do the work to get there. It's something that I I can't evoke in other people. They have to turn it on themselves, and it's not something that gets turned on once and is forever turned on until you really really massage that muscle and strengthen that muscle. But you really have to be brutally honest with yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, you have to be
Mm.
willing to want to get there and do what it takes to get to that point. You have to be monitoring your thoughts daily. I
Mhm.
mean, daily.
Mhm.
I have a thought, I'm like, is that limiting? Is that someone else's? Is that society? Is that my mom? Is that my dad? Who is this? And I really, really challenge all of my thoughts that come into my mind. Any thought that feels like it's a no, like it's a constricting
Mhm.
thing, it's probably a lie. Like it's just probably a lie. It's 99% probably a lie. So whenever I feel that way, like, is this thought closing the door on opportunity? Okay, then I really need to think about that and where is that coming from and is that actually true? So it's a lot of mindset work. But you know, it's just a willingness to want to be yourself. I mean, if I can get to the end of this life, and I know it sounds cheesy, but when I listen to Frank Sinatra's song My Way,
Mhm.
it's like the embodiment of my life's purpose. Like I hope that I can get to the end and say I did it my way.
Yeah.
Like that's it. I didn't do it anybody else's way but my own. And so unfortunately, sometimes some of us have to hit major rock bottom to make these changes. I know I had to.
Yeah.
So if you're not there yet, it doesn't have to be like this decision that you make today and then all of a sudden tomorrow you wake up and it's great. It's a commitment that you make to yourself over and over and over and over again, even when your mind, your body, your mental health, and your emotional and spiritual level are telling you the exact
Mhm.
opposite. Like you just have to keep coming back all the fucking
Yeah.
time. And then it gets
Yeah.
easier.
You build
Yeah.
that muscle.
How do you know, especially when we're talking about being like an ideas person and you had all these ideas, how do you know when it's time to stop something and pivot?
Mm. Good question.
You know, that's a really, really good question because I think that I quit things too early.
Mm.
Mm.
I mean, hindsight's also 2020. I was not supposed to do those things, and so therefore I quit,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I had to quit and quit and quit and quit until I found the thing that I didn't want to quit or I couldn't quit in
Mhm.
Mm.
many ways. So I think we do need to be mindful, and that's kind of my weakness is that in the beginning of this journey, I would quit too quickly when
Mm.
things got hard.
Mm.
But I also think that's a direct reflection that whatever mode I was in, or whatever job I was in, or whatever situation I was in wasn't right for me. And my intuition knew that. So I was like, why play this out? Like, why play this out? It is something that I'm mindful of because when I do want to quit, I ask myself, is this that just urge to run away from discomfort, or is this actually not aligned? Because when you start a business, you want to quit all the time. Like, you want to quit all the time. Like no one really says that. Like I was on the floor crying to my coach last week and I was like, I want to fucking quit.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, 90% of the time you're aligned. Right now you're in the realities of the business and stuff. So for me, when I do want to quit, I think, okay, am I just having like a moment of overwhelm, of
Mm.
burnout? How do I get back to alignment? Is this actually, what I'm supposed to be doing? And I'm really grateful that everything in my life is. But
Yeah.
even when you're living your purpose, even when you're doing the right thing, there will be moments where you want to burn it down
Mhm.
all the time. It happens, especially as women with monthly cycles. It's
Mhm.
kind of like, hormonally, we can get to a point where we're like, nope.
Burn it.
But yeah, burn
Oh
it
yeah.
down. So yeah, you just have to come back to, okay, I'm having an emotional experience, but that's not actually my truth. So how can I ride this emotional experience while anchoring into the truth of my life and not be super too reactive
Yeah.
to every thought and emotion that comes up.
Yeah.
Mm,
Can you talk
love
about
that.
quantum leaping your growth?
Sure.
I know this is gonna be a
Um,
podcast episode on its own, but everything I've asked you today, I'm like, I could hear you talk about it for an hour and a half at minimum.
yeah, quantum leaping my growth. I think that when I started my agency, I was so hungry and so determined, and I really wanted a lot out of it. And so I pushed and I pushed and I pushed and I hustled and I did what it took to get the agency to where it's at. And I think that's an innate part of
Mm,
me. I've shamed myself for that part of me a lot because
Mm,
it's been labeled in like the toxic hustle culture
mm,
vibe. But I've come to learn that it's just how I operate, and I actually find a lot of alignment in that. And that's an example of me saying, okay, that's like a societal belief about how I operate, and that's not actually true for me.
cool.
So I have an, I don't, maybe I have an urgency to live a big life because I was in a shithole for a while with my mental illness. Like maybe I don't want to waste another second and another minute. I think I have too many ideas in my head that I want to bring out into the world. And so I do feel a sense of urgency to do it pretty quickly because I want to maximize my time here. But I also feel really at home in that type of
Mhm.
growth. You know,
Mhm.
we've grown 600% since year one. And I feel at home in that. And that kind of a metric suits me. That kind of a metric doesn't necessarily suit
Mhm.
everybody, right? You have to find the metric that suits you. But yeah, I think that I get bored
Mm.
easily, which is nice having a baby because it changes all the time, but I do get bored very easily. And I do have a manic urge to create and to expand and grow at all times. So I think it's inherently in me. And there are totally times where I can't believe I do this to myself. And I think I'm insane and it's too much and I cry and all those things. But it's always worth it for me in the end. I'm down. I'm down for emotional
Mhm.
breakdowns in pursuit of the greater picture
Yeah.
because I take such good care of my mental health that I know what to do when I have those moments.
You always have the hope. You always
yep.
have the hope. Yeah.
You always have the hope. Oh yeah, bringing it back to what Adam said. How do
Yeah.
you relax? Like how do you truly calm down and relax?
That was the most Gabby
I'm
question of all time.
I'm just
So
curious.
how do you relax?
Are you asking me that because you think I don't relax, or you asking me that because you need
No,
help relaxing?
because I need help relaxing. No, no, no. I know you relax because
Good.
nobody Scout, I love many things about you, but one of the things that I adore about you and like this has been so exciting. I mean, we've been on for 40 minutes so far and like I'm like, "Ah, God, she's the best." There are certain people that when they speak, it's very rehearsed and there's certain
Mm,
people whether it's good or bad, like I'm not
sure.
attaching anything
Yes.
to it. There's different ways in which we feel comfortable public speaking, whatever. And then there's other people that you hear speak and it feels like information is just being downloaded through them.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about that when you were telling your birth story because I was like, wow, I think about it now that I'm back on YouTube when I'm trying to sit in front of a camera,
Mm,
the amount of spaces that I edit out of me just sitting in silence trying to find my train of thought.
mm,
And I was thinking about that when the way that you speak on your podcast, and so does Maddie. And just now, like listening to the way that you speak, like you are one of those peoples that it's like a vessel just coming through
mm.
you. And I think that's so amazing. And like we're so grateful that you use your voice in the way that you do. So no, I'm not asking because I don't think that anybody who speaks that way doesn't take time to take care of themselves and
Exactly.
doesn't take time to relax.
It's how you make the space
I'm
for it.
asking
Mm.
it
Yeah.
more of a space of like, yeah, for everyone listening, myself included, how do you find time for mindful relaxation?
And what does it look like?
Put the phone away. Put your phone away. Other room, off. Do not disturb. Put it away. There's no even point in even giving another tip if you're not doing that.
Mhm.
Because whenever I feel wired and I can't
Mm,
relax and my thoughts are too much, I look at my screen time and oop, it's a little bit up. Like I'm not putting it away an hour before bed. I'm looking at it first thing in the morning. That thing is
Mhm.
terrible for us outside of its actual need of what we use it
Mhm.
for. You
mhm,
know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
mhm,
Mhm.
So put your phone away because it will be this addictive stimulus that you just don't even know is happening to
Mhm.
you. But every time I feel like I can't relax, it's because I'm looking at my phone too late at night or I'm looking at it in the morning every single time. It's like the easiest thing to remove. And I would also say to create, I mean, I'm sure you have like a morning
mhm.
routine, Gabby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find the couple rituals that work for you to regulate your nervous system. For me, it's meditation, bath, and journaling.
Mm.
And so whenever I'm feeling like I absolutely can't relax, I'll put my phone again away, off, all the things. Not even to listen to a podcast.
Mhm.
Don't even do that. Like,
Mhm.
you shouldn't be consuming anything. And I'll meditate, I'll journal, I'll take a bath, and then sometimes this actually really helped me the other time because I was just having a difficult time getting into the mood. I started speaking out loud my manifestations as if they had just come true, and I
Cool.
was like telling them to a friend. I like
Cool.
sat
Love
in a
that.
bath and I just to the
Yeah,
wall, and it allowed me to embody that state versus the state that I was actually in.
absolutely.
So, um, I would just first just put the phone away and then
Mhm.
talk to me later, see how it
Talk to me.
goes, because that's the craziest thing. It's the craziest hack, and that thing is really bad for our
Yeah.
mind going and going and
Yeah,
going.
it's so bad. I notice that all the time when I get really overstimulated really easily, especially with, like, sounds.
Mm.
Like, if I'm stressed I don't know, Meadow, if it was you that was at my house or if it was Maddie, and, like, it was, like, I had friends over, and everybody was, like, so excited to see each other, and, like, we were
And
all
music
talking really
on.
loud, and then the TV was
Yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah, I remember
and then,
this.
like, I
Yeah.
think someone was, like, on their phone, and I was like, I'm gonna crack." Like,
Yeah.
I get really overstimulated, and I sometimes it happens, like, especially because like, Meadow and I text all day, every day, like, for work and friends, but, like, if I'm in one of those places where I'm getting really overstimulated and I start seeing texts come through of, like, the most simple things, I will feel like that again, and I'm like, "Oh
Mm.
my god, I don't even know how to answer this," and then it's like, "What do I do?" And then I can't put the phone away because I'm working, and it's like yeah.
I'm I'm the same way. My text messages really freak me the fuck out.
Yeah.
So right now I have 36 text messages unread.
Mhm.
I move work outside of text
Mm.
messages. Like, work just can't be in.
We've tried this so many times.
But it's only because
I know
it's
it's a
Gabby, we're as we grow, that'll get easier. When
Yes.
it's just
Yes, you're
us,
right.
it's so easy to text. As we grow, that'll get
Yeah.
yeah,
easier.
We have a
Yeah.
Slack
most
channel. We
Yeah.
have a Slack channel that exists.
okay sis is on my text,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Okay.
Like, that's because it's my
Right.
sister.
Right.
You guys are best friends. Like, that's a little bit easier to manage. But other than okay sis being in my text messages, there's nothing in my text messages, and I'm on do not disturb like it's nobody's
Yeah. Me
business these
too.
days. And I don't care if I have 50 text
Yeah.
messages. I used to be the person who felt like if I was in the middle of a fucking podcast and someone texted me, oh, I gotta get back to them, like, right when
Mhm.
I'm done. And it took me so long because I was really addicted to my text messages, and I was really addicted to getting back to people immediately. And it was very uncomfortable for me because I'm a people pleaser. But ever since having a baby, it's like, that is it's the lowest on the totem pole. If
Totally.
you want something from me, if you need like a link to somewhere, like, I will get to that when I can. And Lauren Everett's Bostic talks about this a lot. Like, and I think it's a conversation that's going to start being had in the collective more. Like, when someone texts you, like, they are entering your
Yes.
space.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like answer to their timeline. You got your own timeline going on. So I get out of my text messages because I'm the same way, Gabby. They stress me out so much, and they're just not important.
Yeah.
They're just not that important. We've lived our whole life without needing to get back to people this quickly.
Mhm.
So I've eliminated that. I turn off my Instagram notifications, my email
Yeah.
Mhm.
notifications. All notifications are
Mhm.
off, basically. And the text, though, I feel you. They're the thing that really, really freak me out. So I just ignore them.
Okay, I'm
Gabby, I'd
gonna
love
try
to
it.
gift that to you too, because I will watch you text me 8 times in a row and I'll think, "I'll get to it, it's Gabby." So I
Yeah.
never want you to look at my text and feel
Yeah.
that from me ever because
No, I don't, I
nothing is a
don't, I
rush.
don't. I
Okay.
don't, I just use it as an example because 'cause we're always texting each other.
No, of
But
course,
no, no,
but
no, no,
I
no.
I
I
have to
know that,
gift
like,
that
if
to you.
I
Yeah.
does iPhone still not have the, like, mark unread? Because that's the
No,
thing.
they do. They
They
do. They
have
do.
it now? Okay,
You?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll send you a screenshot of how to do it. Someone showed me
Because
this
that I
like
need.
2 months ago, and I was like, finally, thank
Finally.
Yeah.
you.
Because that's
Thank
why I
you.
feel the need to answer is because if not, I'm gonna forget.
Right,
Or, like,
totally.
if it's
Yeah.
Meadow, for example, we're gonna talk about 700 other things, then I'm gonna forget the fucking thing
Forget.
that I was
Yeah.
supposed to address.
Yeah, just put it on unread because that's
Wow.
once I started doing that, I was like, a whole
No,
new
Literally,
world.
seriously.
the more you know, the
Yeah.
more
I
you know.
I know we're going over and you have nothing left, but I have too much to talk to you about, but I know how much, Scout, that our community, if they don't know you already, is just now gonna ride and just feel
Oh,
so
yeah.
aligned and expanded by you and become okay sis and entrepreneur stands. But I would love, because I know we're gonna get this question, could you give us like a top 3 to 5 including your own, Scout's favorite books.
Oh,
Because you are a
yes.
very, very good book resource queen, and our community loves those.
Thank you so much.
You're very
Because on
welcome.
OK Sis, no one gives a fuck about my book
Oh, our
recommendations.
We
our community
care.
will ride
Over
for
on Thoughts
yours,
May Vary, we
please.
care.
Yeah, we'll make
They
a book
only
list.
want mad like porn romance
Yeah.
novels.
Yeah.
So, okay, so there's a couple that changed my life. The Universe Has Your Back by
Yeah.
Gabby Bernstein.
My therapist recommended that book to me back in the day.
I love
I know.
her or him.
Her, yeah.
Wishes Fulfilled by Wayne Dyer. Wayne Dyer is incredible, an amazing spiritual teacher. If you want something that's not spiritual, The Tools, which is the guy who did that Jonah
We
Hill
talk about it all the time
documentary.
on here.
Yeah, he's great. What's it called? Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's for a little
No.
bit more of the people whose lives have been a little bit more spiritually expanded because it can be a lot. It's like a fucking textbook and it's a ride, but that's an incredible book. What are some other ones that I absolutely love? You Can Heal Your Own Life by Louise Hay is really great for
I think you
anyone who
taught
wants
me
to
about
begin.
Louise Hay, like 3 years ago.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I never actually finished the book because I was kind of doing that work with Dr. Joe
right.
Dispenza. But when I started reading it, I was like, oh, this is like a much better intro. I read like half of it and Maddie read it and it changed her life. So I really recommend that
Those are great already.
one.
Can you pitch your own, please?
Oh, yeah, please.
Oh,
Excuse me.
I have a but also wait, I have some business ones, but your community is a little bit younger, so they might not
Same,
need
just
this.
in
But if you
case.
want to start,
Yeah, sure.
We
if
got
you
a
want to
range
start
too.
Yeah.
building a story brand by Donald Miller, Be by Jessica Zweig for your personal brands, and Traction by Gino Wickman, I think, is an excellent one about how to create an organization and a really nice like quarterly goal structure. So
Cool.
those are great on the business side.
Awesome. Thank you.
And then my book is The Emotional Entrepreneur. It's the Emotional Guidebook to Entrepreneurship.
It's amazing.
It'll help you get through all the anxiety, all the imposter syndrome, all the uncertainty, all of that kind of stuff, and help you mentally take care of yourself as you build the business of your dreams.
Okay.
Oh my God. And then one of my favorite books that is so fucking amazing is Rich as Fuck by Amanda Frances.
Oh, I haven't read that.
I haven't read that
Oh my
either.
God. So she's a money queen, abundance queen, and her book, Rich as Fuck, is so mind-blowing when it comes to money mindset that she is my guru. I am in her money mentality makeover course.
Cool.
She's incredible. She's very pink, so it wasn't my brand at first. And then I was listening to her. I was like, this girl knows her shit. So get that book because that's changed my money
Wow.
mindset.
Okay,
Ooh,
I
I'm
can't
gonna do
wait.
that in tandem with my To Be Magnetic money workshop that I'm currently
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love
Yeah.
it. I love working on money. Money's the
Yeah.
best. All women should make money. We should all say, I love money in unison.
I
Ready?
love
1,
money.
2, 3. I
I
love
love
money.
money. We should have you back
Okay,
on and
wait.
just talk about money and reframing and woman empowerment. And that would
Yes.
be a really good episode too.
We
Can
should.
I be a regular?
Scout. Please.
Yeah.
You were the third co-host.
Yeah,
You were
literally.
whenever you want. Seriously. Okay, one last question for you now that we're doing the tips thing. If you could give our listeners like top 3 tips on the ways to pitch themselves, what would you say?
Oh, yeah, for us too. I think a lot of our listeners come from a place of like learning to brag better about themselves, like in
Yeah.
interviews, how to speak highly of yourself. Try to put yourself in spaces that you want to be in and feel confident doing
Yes.
that and feeling
Thank you,
worthy
Meadow.
of doing that.
Okay, so I mean, on an emotional level, again, like getting comfortable bragging about yourself and being proud of yourself. At the end of every OK Sis episode, we ask if you could brag about one thing and don't be humble, what would you brag about? Because I think that women don't do that enough. And I think that we think we're being arrogant, but we're not. We're just loving on ourselves and admitting where we're fucking awesome. So I would really encourage everyone to write down the 5 business or personal brags, whatever relates to you in the way that you want to get out there. I would write those down and just sit in that pride. Like just be proud of yourself for a second before you do anything. Kind of anchor into that part of you that is just super proud of where you've been and what you've overcome and what you're doing and everything you've accomplished. I think acting out of that energy is actually incredibly, it actually has a lot of humility in it as well, and a lot of emotions and a lot of like human vulnerability and intimacy. So I would do that. I would jump into the podcast game because I think it's the best way to put yourself out there. Like, for example, if you want to be a marine biologist, start a podcast and interview all of the top marine biologists in your field And as a 23-year-old, you're going to be way more connected than someone
Yeah.
who's worked as a marine biologist for 20 years and is only
Literally.
networking with people at their job.
Yep.
So there's so much power in this medium to connect with others. And as far as, being afraid or having fear or imposter syndrome or what if I sound wrong and all of those things, one, we all feel it. Two, we all sound like an idiot at one point or another. And three, I always have to come back to the point of, people's opinions of me are none of my business because people view me through their own filtration and through their own beliefs and through their own experiences. And they are seeing a projection of me that's based upon their belief system and their cumulative experience. So what people think of you is really none of your business. And it actually doesn't have anything to do with who you are as a person. That doesn't mean that there aren't, collective things that your friends might tell you you could work on, but someone's opinion of you on the internet or someone's opinion of you at a conference, if they don't jive with you, it's okay. Like they don't jive with you. And that took me a while to learn. Because, being on the internet and doing podcasts, you get some shit. But yeah, just don't, we all go through it. Don't worry. It's like, what's the alternative? You're just going to not do any of this?
Exactly.
No. That's not what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yep. Oh, those are amazing.
Scout, the way my whole body is like, you have your expander in your city, in your network, get pregnant. Like my whole body is like, you've got her, it's time. Like, let me make a baby now. I want to be your mom friend. You are my expander when it comes to motherhood. I was
Are
going to
you
say mothership.
What's
Motherhood.
going on?
We're going to elope this year. We're engaged. We're eloping and I want to get pregnant yesterday, but I'm not actively trying. I'm just like open to life's plans.
Yeah, you wanted to get pregnant like a long time ago when we.
I've been wanting to be pregnant since I fucking met this guy. I'm like,
Yeah,
found him.
because I'm not good at making mom friends. It's like not my forte. So I would like some. Thank you.
Yes. Also,
No. You don't understand. Meadow and I, all we do is like send each other, like we're those people on the internet that like find other mom friends that like already have their groups, and we're like, this is gonna be us. We're gonna do this. So like,
wait. Also,
we're starting it.
Love you so much. Everyone stalk Scout, follow all the things, and also hang up because I have to say something privately about that.
Okay, we love you,
Thank
Scout.
you so much.
You for
Come
doing
back,
this.
be our third co-host. We love you more than anything.
Oh, I love you guys.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Okay, bye.
How's it going, y'all? It's Aaron. Don't let your Monday suck. Don't have those Sunday scaries. I'm tired of everybody waking up in the week saying, shit, it's Monday. You know what goes down? TMV releases every week on Mondays. Make sure you rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching YouTube, yes, TMV has a YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and ring that noti bell and never miss a thing. And also, join the TMV Familia by joining the Thoughts May Vary Patreon and by following @ThoughtsMayVaryPod on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for listening.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks, AB.
Got y'all.